we go.
Well, all right.
Welcome to a new edition of TrueFire Live. It's been a long time, over a year and a half since our last edition, but the stars have aligned in a very charmed way because we have the Gristleman, Greg Koch, here in the studio live for you. What's happening, Greg?
Having a great time. Making some jams, showing some jams, eating some good food, seeing the sun, seeing the ocean.
The food is good.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Almost as good as the jams, right?
Well, you know what? They where there's gristle.
Where there's gristle. So, man, we've been buds for such a long time. You've always been a great friend of the fire. I mean, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, absolutely.
You're one of the busiest cats I know. You got a million things going on. And but finally, we made it happen.
We did.
And you were here, I guess, a couple of months
in
ago.
July.
In July. And we did your very first TrueFire course, a masterclass called Gristleman Guitar.
Correct.
Tell everyone basically what you're doing in that course.
Well, many different things. It's an overview of kind of all the little techniques that I do, or a good chunk of them anyway. You know, everyone always asks about the chicken picking stuff, hybrid picking, a little bit of course, the different blues stuff that I do, all the different bends and vibratos and pinch harmonics, and a little bit of standard tuning slide, and of course some of my comping stuff that I do in a blues format, funk format, so on and so forth. There's some Travis picking stuff, all kinds of different things. But we take a deep dive into some blues stuff as well. Tried to make it, be cognizant of the fact that not everyone's going to be able to play some of the crazier stuff, but I'd like to think that people at any skill level are going to be able to watch this thing and be able to nab something and be glad they came.
Absolutely. What I love about the masterclass is, you go deep, but you also go wide across your whole kind of thing.
Yes.
Cover different genres, different techniques, and what do you think? This is the first time you've produced a course with all the learning tools, video sync, tab and notation, looping, slow-mo. Do you think that's useful for a student?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of the, going back many, many years in the instructional realm, if you will, it's to have everything where you can see what my right hand's doing, you see my left hand's doing, you see the on shot, and then everything's transcribed. It's like, as I like to say, in this day and age, there's really no reason to suck. Not that I'm judging, but I mean, all the tools are at your disposal. I mean, guitar is one of those things you never, ever get bored because there's always something new to learn. But, a lot of times, when I was younger and there were certain things, I never was into slowing records down and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the stuff I learned just off records, and a lot of times I learned it wrong, right? Because I'm like, well, this sounds, I don't know if this is exactly what they're doing, but this is pretty cool. But by the same token, when all of a sudden you can actually, I always wanted to learn how to do that one thing, but I couldn't quite get it off the record. And now that everything is transcribed like that in a way that's easily accessible.
Yeah, I mean
you still got to learn the stuff.
No,
you know what I mean?
Still have to learn it. But, I do remember, putting my thumb on the vinyl and slowing it down. Of course, the pitch drops and everything gets a little bit warbly. You know, everything you play in the master class and in the new courses, which we're going to talk about here too.
Yeah, sure.
Go loop any section, a measure, a part of a measure, slow it down, keep the pitch. So, you know, I don't know what else we could possibly do other than reach through the screen and, you know, play it for you.
Well, I kind of just interject one thing that I thought was really cool.
Please, man.
Is that, you know, we do a thing where we show the example of the tune or the different technique, but then we kind of do like a deep dive into the, you know, kind of the whole methodology of how I learned that stuff, how I heard about it. And there's all kinds of other information in those little, I mean, sometimes there's even more information in those things than the actual just showing of the piece.
Yes.
And what's so cool about that, from my point of view, of not having to worry about having to transcribe it myself, and knowing that I just play whatever I want and that's going to be tabbed out for me. For me, having done this for so many years, where that's always in the forefront of my mind, it's like a lot of times what I was teaching was curtailed by what I was able to transcribe and the time I was able to do it. And so many things I do are in and out of the bar line. You know what I mean?
No, I know.
This totally gave me the freedom to show all these cool little tidbits. So it was an absolute gas.
Well, let's do this. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but you know, the course, it's on pre-order right now.
That's correct.
It has gone, what's the expression? #1 with a bullet, like
Woo!
overnight. But play something from the course.
Okay, you know, we did some stuff on.
What's that slow blues?
It's a slow blues. Drowning on Dry Land is the track, and we call it Drowning in a Sea of Vibrato. But I did some different, like Albert King things, but in my own way, and with fingers without, you know, pick and with pick. And so I'll just play a couple choruses of that. And
Okay, Tommy, can you roll? You have that track? That's the gristle.
that is.
So for those folks in the audience that don't yet understand the art and nature of the gristle, can you explain that to everyone?
Well, it's just kind of stupid fun. You know, years ago, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and my band was pretty popular in the area, and that was kind of my goal. I always wanted to do my own music, so people were like, why don't you move here, move there? Well, I always wanted to do my own band, my own original music, so my thought was I'll stay in Milwaukee, and then I can make forays into the the universe, as the case may be, but I'll always kind of have a little insurance policy that I can go back home and not starve and know people and all that kind of. And then when I started having kids, good place to raise the family, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so back in the day when I was primarily just gigging all the time for my money, I would do my regular band, and then I'd put together like little, for lack of a better term, super groups with various different local musicians. And so I put together a little ensemble that played Thursday nights at a place called the Up and Under Pub. And after we would play, this is back in the day where, of course, after you got done playing, you'd go to the late night eating establishment and feast like warriors of old because you had a metabolism that could handle such savagery. And one particular evening, I'm not going to lie about it, we were a little croissant. We'd been overserved a little bit and went over to this restaurant and feasted. And somewhere along the line in this late night repast, we started to get into a food fight with people. So there's food flying and so on and so forth. And throughout the whole thing, last thing I remember was that there was a piece of gristle from a steak hanging on the marquee of the Oriental Theater next door somehow in the frame. I was looking up for it. And somehow I bellowed forth, "Pound the gristle," as like a battle cry. Uh-huh. And therefore, every week when we would show up to do this gig, we're like, it's time to pound the gristle every time we would hit the stage. And then it just took on a life of its own. Next thing you know, I was the Gristleman. I'd named records, you know, Radio Free Gristle, Double the Gristle, gristle everywhere. And somebody actually said to me the other day, you know, gristle, I think, is actually cartilage. It's not fat. I'm like, you know what? I got a hard enough time letting people understand what I mean by gristle, let alone the anatomically correct.
Exactly. So, naturally, you called the masterclass Gristleman Guitar.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Yes.
And before we play another tune, and
yes.
I want everyone, are you going to have to change guitar?
I am going to. So should we talk about this one real quick?
Yeah, talk about that real quick.
Okay, this is the second signature guitar I did with Reverend, and it was kind of simultaneously developed with the new pickups that I did for Fishman. So I started working with Fishman with the pickups about 10 years ago now, I guess, with the Fishman Fluence pickups, which, you know, it's a long story, but I'll just tell you this. They have multiple voices. Both of them are awesome. They're noise-free, and they look right, which is key for me, because a lot of single coil-esque pickups that get rid of the sound, they end up looking like they have like claws and beaks and stuff, and look something other than what they should be. Anyway, so I had an idea to do P90s. I always liked P90s, you know, but it's an interesting thing. P90s are all over the place in terms of, you know, how they sound and so on and so forth, what guitar they're in and all this other. So there's lore about the P90s as well, but they're noisy as hell, especially putting any gain on, and it's buzz central. So I had the idea because we were so successful in doing the T-style, Telly style pickups that I did with Fishman, which ended up on my first Reverend guitar, which I'll grab in a minute. We developed these P90s, which, as I said, have two voices in them, which I'll just kind of demonstrate real quick. So that's the first voice. If I press this little button in right here, I get a second of it. Something with just a little bit more meat on it. Bridge hook. First voice, second voice. And there's no noise. Turn down the volume, I don't lose any highs. All that kind of fun stuff. But what's really fun is I wanted an out of phase sound that was cool. So in the middle we got the...
Sweet.
Anyway, so I wanted... you know, the thing about these guitars is that they're just a little bit bigger because I'm a big son of a gun. And everyone's always like, what is that guitar, some kind of ukulele? Is it a mandolin? And so when I was working with the Reverend folks, I'm like, you know, can we just make the body a little bigger so it's like between 2% and 3% larger? It's not so large that it doesn't fit in regular cases, but it just gives the image that it's a little bit more proportionate to the larger individual. So it comes stock with these pickups, and this one's a neck through, it's Gibson scale, and it's gold. There's three colors right now. There's gold.
We are also longtime friends with both Fishman and Reverend.
Yes.
And I remember way back in the early years of Reverend, the early years of TrueFire, we'd meet at these guitar, you know, shows in the Poconos, you know, trying to spread the love kind of a thing. And man, we've worked with them. We have easily a dozen Reverend guitars in the house. They're phenomenal. And we need to get us one of those.
Yeah, the Gristle 90, it's called. The Gristle continues.
So for the next track, while you're changing guitars,
Switch guitars here a little bit.
can you do a little bit of what's that chicken picking spank it thing?
Yeah. We're going to do a little bit of that.
Okay, while you're grabbing that guitar, guys, if you would look underneath the video on YouTube, there's a bunch of links, okay? The first link is a link to be able to pre-order the Gristleman Guitar Masterclass. There's a nice promotion going on right now. Save some bucks on picking up this course. But there's also a giveaway going on. What are we giving away, Greg?
We are giving away one of these very guitars. So this color we call Lucifer. And this was the first guitar that I did with Reverend. And it is, again, a slightly larger body, Carina body, roasted maple neck. Comes stock with the Fishman Fluence gristle tone pickups for Telecaster. And this is the first color we decided on. It's available in many different colors, but the one we're giving away is this one, which is Lucifer.
Awesome. So that second link, all you have to do is go there, enter your email, no purchase necessary, no monkey business. Go ahead.
I should also mention that these pickups are also being given away separately, a la carte, from our friends at Fishman.
Nice. So Fishman is also longtime friends of the fire. They have always done amazing things, haven't they? They're just such good people, smart people.
Absolutely.
Treat artists, with a lot of respect.
Absolutely.
And, on this side of the fence, collaborating and co-promoting and working, you get to know the people.
Right.
Like there's no BS with
Right.
them. They're just straight shooters, always deliver what they promise, and also make a great product. And we've got a link to Fishman on that list as well. We have a link to your website. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that, and also Koch Amplifiers has divulged an amplifier for us as well. Now, it's not one of my signature amps, but it's another great amplifier that they make. I believe it's the Twin Tone. Is that the one?
I don't know what's on.
The Classic Tone.
The Classic
there we go.
Tone.
That's a good amp.
So you have the link to Koch Amplifiers, a link to Fishman, Wildwood Guitars. Give them a little love.
Yes, Wildwood Guitars, they are also a part, they worked with Reverend to provide this guitar for the giveaway. And of course, Wildwood is the place where I've done all those videos going back again another 10 years.
How many videos? Like 60 million gazillion?
It's a lot. I mean, it was over 5,000 a few years back. I mean,
You're like a video star, you know that? I mean, you've got...
Well, you know what's weird, Brad, is I tell people, it's like, for years, I did the Fender thing for years. For about 15 years, I was, their words, not mine, kind of brand ambassador that went all over the place and did a bunch of stuff for them. I had record deals on Steve Vai's label with a bunch of different labels, European labels. I had columns in different guitar magazines, of course, all the different instructional things. Pales in comparison to the amount of people that saw me and knew about me from doing the Wildwood things. Because it's basically me sitting in a chair, grabbing guitars, playing, having fun, being, just talking and ad-libbing, and people responded to it. That's something I would have never have come up with on my own. Like, you're going to end up sitting in a stool and playing these really nice guitars.
So
and
this link here to Wildwood Guitars, are you able to access the videos on that link?
Absolutely. Okay, so when someone goes to the site and they click on a guitar and if there's a little red camera icon next to that guitar, that means there's a video for that
Go check those out. So, folks, you'll understand why we needed stars to align and get a little space in both of our schedules. You do so many things, things from your home. You stream how many times a week?
It's 4 to 5 times a week. So we do these Fishman live streams Mondays and Fridays, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Central. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do a Wildwood stream. They send me guitars from Colorado, and I do that. And that's Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. And then I started a podcast that's both sanctioned by Fishman and Wildwood, and we have got 53 episodes up. The latest one with John 5 just went live. I mean, we had everyone from Steve Vai to Kurt Flesher to Joe Satcher, all these different folks, and we just have these fun, casual conversations.
They're great. I love
Chewing
them.
the Gristle, that one's called. See the Gristle thing. It just keeps on rolling.
And why not?
That's right. And then every other weekend or so, I bring Toby Lee Marshall down, who's a great Hammond organist, and my son Dylan plays drums. We have a thing called the Koch Marshall Trio, and we play live on my YouTube channel with that and on Facebook and so on and so forth. And there's plenty of previous shows that are up on my YouTube channel if people want to go and check that out. It's good, clean fun.
So you have all the links underneath this video.
That's correct.
That will
converge
into your universe.
That's correct. If you go to my website, everything is linked from there. My lovely wife has done a good job with the website and making sure people know how to get where and how.
She does phenomenal job. Okay, so hey, and while you're under the video, why don't you click that thumbs up icon? That's a great way to share the love for the Gristle.
Yes.
Okay, why not?
If you will.
And enough talk. Why don't we do some Gristle here?
All right.
Chicken. So the chicken picking thing.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little chicken, just improvise a little bit over the change of this old tune of mine, Spank It, which, you know, I wrote this tune in 1988, as a matter of fact. And it was just for the fun of it. You know, I was never a big country guy, per se. I didn't grow up listening to country music. But I did like just the percussive coolness of chicken picking, which, you know, something I actually heard first, like Mark Knopfler do.
Right.
And Ray Flack, another English guy that played with Ricky Skaggs, and Albert Lee. And then through those guys, I started to go back and listen to James Burton and Jimmy Bryant, and of course Chet Atkins and Jerry Reed and you know, Roy Nichols, yada yada yada. But yeah, so there's an element of this chicken picking that I do. It's something that people ask about a lot. So even though I've covered this tune in the past, I covered it again on the masterclass because I thought it was something that, you know, people are going to want to know.
No, they asked for it at your concerts. We had to put it in the masterclass.
There you go. Exactly.
Just to dig into your approach to chicken picking.
Right.
With that, Tommy, roll that track. You know, we're live. It happens. Hey, tough, everyone. We've got the boys in the tracking room freaking out.
That's all right. You know what? Live television. It's good for you.
It's
It's all
good.
how you respond.
Literally
Well-
just got a blue screen of death on my computer.
No, you're kidding.
Tight, hopefully it stays up.
Okay. Looks like we're still streaming, but we got the blue screen of death in the tracking room. Okay, but this proves that this is not pre-recorded.
That's correct.
Right? We're not playing games here. We're live.
We're live without a net, folks.
Exactly. So let's tell them, let's use this opportunity to talk a little bit more. So you've been here this week working on 3 other courses, right? Let's give them a summary. Start with, we have 30 Gristleman licks.
Right.
Quickly overview what we're going to get in there, and then we'll play something as soon as we're able.
All right, sounds good. So I came, I just kind of, I had some things in mind before I came. I kind of made a little list. Maybe it'd be fun to do this kind of a lick and so on and so forth. But a lot of it was just in the moment, you know. Tommy and I were just kind of grooving, and we're like, well, what track? If we play this track, what lick would I do? And so they were pretty off the cuff because most of the things that I do, I mean, there are certain things I might use a lot as I refer to licks as like vocabulary words.
Right.
And so I like to tell a story with these licks. I mean, a lot of times if I do a Skype lesson with somebody, it's funny, I still say Skype lesson. So how long ago was that?
Early 2000s.
Oh shit.
And a lot of these guys like Jeff Sheets,
Yep.
Mimi Fox, Jeff McElwain, come down there and do it, but nobody really knew any different.
Right.
Everything was starting like brand new. It's very cool, very fond memories. But when I think back to how we were shooting back in the day, I mean logging tape,
Right.
and keeping, and slating it and then logging it and trying to post it, and it would get so hot in there. There were times, man, like, do you know David Hamburger?
I don't know him personally, but I definitely know who he is. Yeah.
So he was one of our first too, and he has a very kind of dry sense of humor. And he talks kind of in a monotone, very soothing.
Right.
And in the tracking room was a couch, and I'd sit on this very comfortable leather couch. Allie would, and it would get hot, and the lights, and no air, and I'd fall asleep on the couch in the middle of like a tape. It was just a riot. Like the garage days, man.
Right.
Okay, so we have to figure out. Okay.
Okay, guys, back up on audio, and folks can hear you. Let's
Okay.
just give me a second to get the session back up.
No worries.
We were talking about the old days.
Yes.
The days of, shooting on tape, having to turn the air conditioner off so there's no tracking room, logging, the heat from the lights and the lack of air in little mezzanine 8-foot ceiling spaces. But we made some really good stuff there.
Yeah.
All right, it looks like we are live, video and audio. Is that right, Tommy?
Yeah, video is back, audio is back.
Okay, where do you want us to start from?
Just give me a second to get the Pro Tools session back up.
Okay.
No
guys
worries. Did
wanna
we
tell,
did we get all the
a
stuff of
quick
us talking
story?
about what we did this time, Tommy? Do you remember if we got that stuff, or were we talking into the abyss?
Well, let's do this just really quickly.
Okay.
We did 3 courses this week.
Correct.
One of them, 30 Gristleman licks. You must know.
Right.
Quick overview of that, just in case we missed it.
Basically, gristle vocabulary unleashed. Some chicken picking stuff, some blues stuff, some standard tuning slide, double stops, some chordal stuff that I might use for riffing. Good for, and there's even some, diminished, altered dominant, harmonic minor type
It's
of
all in
ideas
there.
as well.
Everything you need to get a little gristle in your own playing.
That's
right?
correct, and there's plenty of little, during the breakdowns, there's all additional lickery ideas behind it.
We did talk about that. I don't know if everyone heard that, but those are, in some cases, even more illuminating and
Yes.
insightful than learning the lick itself. So
Right.
it's really, we're really proud of that one. You did, phenomenal job on it, and I know students will majorly dig it. The next course we did was solo
Guitar. Right.
Talk about that.
Okay, so over the years, I was kind of illuminating. I don't think this was on live when I said this, but I was always someone that had to play in a band, and I probably knew a couple of songs that I could play solo that would sound halfway decent. And a few different things happened. I remember seeing Doyle Dykes play at this event, and he was doing a blues, and he was accompanying himself and playing, keeping the bass notes going and playing lead at the same time. So there was that. And there was always the idea of listening to old Robert Johnson stuff, and it was all self-contained. And then I started getting hip to I always wanted to learn more Merle Travis and Chet Atkins stuff. So I started to make an effort to try to have more solo guitar pieces that were in some semblance of performanceable shape. So then I started writing songs in that environment, or would take songs that I'd written previously as band songs and working up kind of self-contained versions of it. And of course, sitting at a stool in Louisville, Colorado, shooting 25 to 30 guitar videos a day when I'm out there doing it, helped me kind of flush out all of these different things. And then I was doing a duo with a buddy of mine, a great harmonica player from back home by the name of Steve Cohen. He would play harp and guitar, but while he was playing harp, I was doing all the rhythm stuff. And so I started to, figure out ways to sound more like an ensemble by myself. So the idea of this course that we did is a little bit of that. I do 2 tracks with an electric, and then I do the other 4 tracks with a Fender Acoustasonic, which was actually, thank you Ryan Fitzsimmons from Fishman for sending it down. Just so everyone knows, those Fender guitars are filled with Fishman electronics. And the Jazz Master one sounds particularly good. So we got it on the fly, so I had to kind of get used to the guitar as we were doing the stuff, but we made it happen.
So there are really 6 arrangements.
Correct.
You present, and behind each arrangement, you're drilling down on the techniques
right.
you're using, and your approach to playing solo guitar. And the truth of the matter is, myself included, I'm sure I speak to for everyone. Who doesn't want to be able to take their guitar and,
right.
play a solo piece?
Exactly. And so some of the ideas that we did in there, like a lot of times when I'm doing these little noodles, if you will, on the Wildwood stuff, or just when I'm doing the live stream and it's just me, I'll throw in some of these gospel chord voicings and so on. And so I did kind of an example of that, one of my tunes that does that, and then kind of dug in again in that little lesson segment, dug in a little deeper and showed a bunch of other things that I think anyone can apply to what they do. We did like an acoustic blues, like a country blues type of thing, and how I approach that. Making melodies out of like some wider interval stuff. I did a Travis picking thing. So it's all across the board. And open G tuning.
Yeah, the killer. I love that one too.
Can we just pick back up with Spanking?
Sure, we can do that. Are we gonna do the melody? Are we gonna take it from the top, or just for the solo?
Let's just take it from the top.
All right.
Okay, a little deja vu gristle here. Okay.
Yeah,
I've got to read this one comment. Here's
Okay.
a question from, I think it's Ville Kootman. When did Greg realize that he kind of made it in the guitar scene? I mean, he's a superstar now within the guitar community. Some very prominent people call him the best guitarist on the planet.
Oh.
How do you reply to that? Because I couldn't agree more. Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm flattered. It's interesting. There's things that happened earlier on in my career. I always thought, man, if just this happened or this happened, I would have figured that success was at hand. But to be honest with you, kind of a pivotal moment happened. I mean, I had my own band. There's local music awards, and we won all, Artist of the Year, as far as Blues Artist of the Year, and I got all this love locally. A guy saw me at a club who was from Fender and said, "You want to do stuff for us?" So all this stuff was kind of happening. But I think it's when, my wife, when she said, "Hey, is there any way you could really fire up your game so that I could actually not work and stay home with the kids for a while?" I mean, I shouldn't say not work, because working, she's basically saying, I want to go home and hang out with the kids.
Right.
Because I had going on 3 at that point. So when I was able to, through a bunch of different stuff lining up, be able to make enough money playing my guitar to support, at that point, a family of 5, and then soon to be a family of 6, and that went on for years. That's when I was like, you know what? To be able to maintain a happy marriage, kids that, like you know what I mean? That know you and like to be involved with your kids, and to be able to have, at least the financial freedom to be able to sustain a lifestyle that, you want, that you had when you were young and you want your kids to have.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, you know what? That was success to me. Now, all the other stuff on top of that, that would happen, you get kudos from this artist or from that artist. What's interesting is all the people I hang out with at home, a lot of them don't even know who these people are. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my wife doesn't even know who a lot of these different people
Yeah.
are. And that's one of the main, not one of the main reasons, but that's one of the many reasons why I married her, is that she just didn't care about the more,
Right.
stellar aspects of rock and roll or whatever the case may be. I remember when I played this gig up in Minneapolis with this band. I got a call to this band. It was like the biggest blues band in Minneapolis. And I told her, I was like, "Hey, you want to come out with me Saturday night and see this band?" And she says, "Who the F is that?" And I was like, "She's the one," And so that's really, I mean, when people say really nice stuff, it's absolutely flattering. And, but I just like playing. And I'm always trying to get a little bit better. And I think I speak for most guitar players, no one's harder on you than yourself. So, I mean, I hear every mistake, and but you finally just get to the point where it's like, you're confident in what you do, your intention is good. I mean, it's like, I have no problem. I mean, I create so that other people enjoy it, and they can take what they want and do what they will. And so the fact that I can maintain a level of
Yes.
financial security and be able to create the music that I want to do.
That really is making it at the end of the day. It's
Yes.
not what, when we're younger, we think making it is.
Right.
Oftentimes, even if you achieve that,
Right.
it's not exactly happiness.
Right.
And not exactly financial stability.
Exactly. Exactly.
But we were talking at dinner last night. By the way, did you like that dinner?
It was fantastic. Are you kidding
Was
me?
there enough variety and
Oh, my
what we
Lord.
put on the table there? Pretty good, huh?
Oh my God, you're a savage. Brad ordered every appetizer on the menu.
And it was really worth it. We went to a restaurant. Kyler, who is a long-time team member here, had a dream to be a chef all his life. And sure enough, man, he served up some incredible. We ordered virtually everything on the menu, including entrees. But we were talking about, that you're happy,
Yes.
that you love to play music.
Yes.
And you don't have to do things that you really don't want to do.
Right.
So,
exactly.
I love to hear a success story like that. Okay. We're being prompted to play more music.
Oh, okay.
So,
I think I was going to switch over to that acoustic instrument, right?
yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay.
What are we going to play? The arrangements?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little acoustic blues thing. There's a on my acoustic Gristle Soup record that I put out a few years back. One of the tunes on there, I just kind of improvised a blues, kind of a country blues thing in the key of A. And Steve Hamilton, the engineer, is like, "Well, what should we call this tune?" And I said, "Phineas Poundwell." And I always kind of use the fictitious name Festus McCorkindale as my alias. And there's, so I'm like, "Well, what's your favorite band?" "Festus McCorkindale and the All Night Pounders." And certainly Phineas Poundwell is in that lexicon of non-existent artists. Let's see what we got here. We're all
So
plugged in
Fender
here.
was kind enough to ship that here this week for you.
That's
right?
correct. Tommy, you got it? Oh, there we go.
Nice.
Yeah, so we got. I jazzed it up a little bit at the end there for the kids.
Sweet, man. So that's one of the 6 arrangements.
That's
You
correct.
present
A
the
variation
score.
of that, certainly.
Yeah, it's great. That course is also, I think, a very unique and special course that has wide appeal. Because we all want to learn how to do something like that, right?
Yeah. Right. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Exactly. And, you know, you got to learn a few new techniques maybe, but it's not like spending a lifetime, to play solo fingerstyle guitar like a Tommy or
Right.
Doyle Dykes. And
Right.
I think it's a brilliant course.
Well, a couple of things, like just little, kind of the gateway drug, if you will, to
Yes.
Travis picking is that mystery train thing. That's something I teach to people all the time. And it's definitely one of those rub your tummy and head at the same time thing, but
Yeah.
then I'll add a little. That kind of stuff, and then getting into just the Travis. That kind of stuff, but doing it with hybrid picking instead of saying, oh, I got to have a thumb pick, and because that's one of the things that kind of didn't turn me off, but kind of scared me, if you will, about Travis picking, and that whole world is like, well, now I got to get a thumb pick and do that whole thing, and
No, exactly. And you know, a lot of these tunes might be at a tempo that might put somebody off a little bit.
Right.
But that's when the learning tools come into play. Slow it down.
Right.
Work it out a measure or a move at a time. And with practice,
right,
the gristle comes. Right?
It does indeed. It manifests in the night.
What do you want to do? You want to show something from the licks course?
Sure. Let me grab
Another instrument.
my old Stratocaster.
So we've got some funk, maybe some funk.
Yeah, we could do that. Let's do that. Let's
Funk of a different flavor.
flunk of a different flavor. This is actually a track that's going to be on the next Koch Marshall trio record. But what's interesting. There we go.
And the tracks on these courses are many, if not most of them, from actual studio recordings.
That's correct. They are. I'm sorry, I got the wrong thing plugged in here. So many chords, Tommy. So little time.
Well, that's what happens when you bring 4 guitars to the gig, right?
Well, you know, I've got that cool case. I can bring 3 guitars in.
No.
So, but this is actually an old guitar. I ordered this from the Fender Custom Shop as a one-off in like 1991.
Jeez.
And the neck got stripped about 10 years ago. My guy's like, their neck is messed up, man. We need it. So Fender made me another neck. And I had that neck on here, but this was the neck that I had for years and years, played all my records on and all that kind of stuff. So I got a guy who recently was able to repair the neck, figured out a way to unstrip the neck. I'm talking about the truss rod. And so I just got this neck back on here again. So it's like reborn. And I have the Fishman Fluence single width pickups on here, which sound magnifico.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thought it would be fun to have a Strat, because on all my early records, Strat on all that stuff. So, and to accurately do some of my guitar heroes, I need a Strat.
Exactly.
And so anywho, some of the licks that we did, well, we did all kinds of different, but I used a neck pickup on a Fender guitar. Is always
Do you have a track you want to show?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that funk of a different flavor. I'll just kind of noodle on that a little bit.
You got it.
Was a bunch of licks I showed in the licks course.
Exactly.
And some of the licks I showed in the heroes thing as well.
Yes. Well, let's do something. So let's talk about My Guitar Heroes.
Yes.
The third course, My Guitar Heroes, you talk about who?
I talk about...
Who influenced your playing?
Well, it's hard to narrow them down for sure.
I know.
But Hendrix.
Yeah.
The whole reason why I started playing guitar was Hendrix. I still listen to him all the time. Finding old bootlegs. Hendrix is my all-time fave. Clapton, but particularly Cream era, Blues Breaker, Blind Faith, Derek and the Dominoes, Clapton.
Yeah.
Not that he didn't play great stuff afterwards, but the intention was different. And I think most people would probably agree with that. So I discussed some of that, and vibratos and phrasing, and and some licks and just attitude, basically. And with all of these, probably other people have said the same doggone thing, but for me, when it comes to these influences, it's not a matter of, I've never figured out like solos verbatim. Some I would get pretty close to what was actually happening, but I was never obsessed with playing exactly what was on the record. I was obsessed with being able to speak in the language of, right? So I would come up with the vibe of the person, and it was the vibe, and cherry pick the licks that I thought really, to me, exemplified what I dug about that individual. And then I would add that to my own stew. So if I wanted to, I could kind of speak in the language of that person, but also assimilate it into my old gristle stew and stir up the bubbling cauldron. So anyway, so we got We got Hendrix, we got Clapton. I had to do Jeff Beck. You know, Jeff Beck is someone I've listened to from the very beginning of my guitar playing and have followed him along the way. It's one of those things where I get a little, you know, it's just such a strong flavor. You know, I can't, it's like a lot of times that's why I went to a T-style guitar. It's because if you grab a whammy bar, you're going to sound like Jeff Beck because he's the master of Mr. Wiggles, if you will.
Yes.
But there's some cool stuff that he did, so I had to do some of that in the vid as well. And you know, Jeff Beck is one of arguably the only guy of that generation of like 60s icon guitar players that continues to get better.
Yeah.
And whose voice has changed and just matures in the coolest way as far as an instrumentalist is concerned. So there's Jeffrey Beckery. And then I wanted to do Roy Buchanan because there's so many things that I do on the T-style guitar, the Tele-style guitar that come from Roy. Even whether I learned it initially from Roy or not, they all came from Roy. Yeah. So, you know, the pinch harmonics, you know, the pedal steel bends that he would do, the kind of overbend with the tone control wahs and the volume slurs and all that kind of stuff I got from Roy. So I do I play I had a tune of mine from the Radio Free Gristle record called Dry Ice, which I dedicated to Roy. And it's more of kind of because he would do ballad stuff that just was so emotive and searing, that searing tone. So that's more in that spirit of stuff. Sorry, I'm spitting. And then I had to do Albert Lee because Albert Lee was, you know, the reason why I got into that whole kind of country style of guitar. I mean, you know, when I first heard him play with Eric Clapton on that Just One Night live record, and all of a sudden Clapton would play his solo, and this other guy came in and was like, "What is that?
Yeah.
That's not the blues scale.
Right.
What the hell's going on here?"
Right.
So I had to do Albert Lee and the various different things I learned, you know, from Albert Lee, and the you know, and it was through reading about Albert Lee that I learned about, you know, Jimmy Bryant and Roy Nichols and you name it, all the different Tele guys. So
how about, can you do something from the Jeff Beck set?
Sure, let's do this. This is an old tune of mine. It's an old tune called The Grip. It's crazy, but I employ some whammy bar stuff in here that's definitely from the Jeff Beck arsenal of trickery. And we'll do that for you. You ready there, Tommy? Somewhere in that realm.
Oh man, that course, also is incredible. So let me just recap. Hey, Tommy, we should let Greg play something out, pick whatever you want. But before you play us out, I want to thank, first of all, everyone for tuning in.
Yes.
It's been a long time since our last one of these live streams. Thrilled that we came back with you on this one. Thrilled to have you in the studio. Please, a couple of things. Give us a thumbs up if you would. That's really helpful for spreading the love. And check out all those links. You can still pre-order the Gristleman Guitar Masterclass. The link's under the video. You can enter the giveaway. No purchase necessary, no monkey business. Just enter your email. You've got a shot at winning that guitar. Couple of links for Greg's website and his educator page on TrueFire. Links to Reverend guitars, Wildwood guitars, Fishman, and Koch amplifiers. Man, and thanks for your patience with our little glitch.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay, it's live.
Technology is.
Yeah, you can rely on that kind of stuff happening. You know, Tommy, what do you guys want to play out?
We could just do want to do the first track over again, the very first one?
Yeah, here's what I got available. I have Moan and Glory, Orange Church, Railman's Tale, Sacred Steel, Thrust Bucket, or we could do any of the ones we did.
Let's do Orange Church. What the heck?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one, which I hope is real soon.